Welcome back to SSB Simplified, the one-stop destination for all your SSB interview preparation. Today, we are going to cover an important lecturette topic that has frequently been asked in SSB interviews. The topic is Terrorism, Understanding the Threat Within. Now, to understand the topic better, let us divide it in parts. 1. Defining terrorism. 2. The psychology of terrorism. 3. Terrorism in global politics. 4. The impact of terrorism on society. 5. Preventing terrorism. 6. The future of terrorism. 7. Lecturette. Let's start with defining terrorism. Terrorism is a term that has been used to describe a wide range of violent acts committed by individuals or groups with political, religious, or ideological motivations. The definition of terrorism is often debated, but it generally involves the use of violence or the threat of violence against civilians in order to achieve a political goal. Some experts argue that terrorism cannot be defined objectively, as different groups and individuals may have different motivations and objectives. However, most definitions of terrorism include some element of political motivation, violence or the threat of violence, and the targeting of non-combatants. The psychology of terrorism. Terrorism is not just a political or military strategy, it is also a psychological tactic. Terrorists seek to create fear and anxiety in their targets, which can lead to a sense of powerlessness and helplessness. This can have a profound impact on individuals and communities, leading to long-term psychological trauma and social disruption. Terrorist organizations often use propaganda and indoctrination techniques to recruit new members and justify their actions. They may also use tactics such as kidnapping, torture, and assassination to intimidate opponents and gain publicity for their cause. Terrorism and global politics. Terrorism has become a major issue in global politics, with many governments and international organizations working to combat terrorist organizations and prevent attacks. However, the response to terrorism has been controversial, with some arguing that anti-terrorism measures infringe on civil liberties and human rights. The global fight against terrorism is complicated by factors such as poverty, political instability, and ethnic and religious tensions. Addressing these underlying issues may be necessary to effectively combat terrorism in the long term. The impact of terrorism on society. Terrorism can have a profound impact on society, causing fear and anxiety, disrupting daily life, and damaging infrastructure. In addition to the immediate physical and psychological effects of terrorist attacks, there can be long-term economic and social consequences. Terrorism can also exacerbate existing tensions between different groups, leading to increased discrimination and prejudice. It is important for communities to come together in the aftermath of a terrorist attack, and for leaders to promote unity and tolerance in the face of adversity. Preventing terrorism. Preventing terrorism requires a multifaceted approach, involving intelligence gathering, law enforcement, diplomacy, and community engagement. Effective prevention strategies may involve addressing the root causes of terrorism, such as poverty and political oppression, as well as disrupting terrorist networks and preventing the spread of extremist ideologies. Community engagement is an important aspect of preventing terrorism, as it can help build trust between authorities and local populations, and promote peaceful dialogue and conflict resolution. Education and awareness-raising campaigns can also play a role in preventing radicalization and promoting tolerance and understanding. The future of terrorism. The future of terrorism is uncertain, but it is likely that terrorist organizations will continue to adapt and evolve in response to changing political, technological, and social conditions. Advances in communication technology and social media may make it easier for terrorists to recruit new members and spread their message, while advances in surveillance technology may make it easier for authorities to track and disrupt terrorist activities. It is important for governments and societies to remain vigilant and adaptable in the face of evolving threats, while also upholding the values of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. War and terrorism have been prevalent among humans from a long time, but it has gained prominence in recent times because of the severe atrocities associated with it. In the broadest meaning of the term, terrorism is the intentional use of indiscriminate violence in order to instill fear among the people for financial, political, ideological or religious agendas. It is generally associated with something which is morally wrong and is used as a weapon by politicians, fascists, and religious fanatics. Basically, it is a double-edged sword, the main sufferers being the common and innocent people. Terrorism can be spread either in the form of fanatical groups like Al-Qaeda or Boko Haram who commit heinous crimes in the name of religion, or it may be in the form of an individual, a lone wolf, terrorist who operates alone and commits an act of violence in a mass scale. This lone wolf attack pattern is responsible for 70% of deaths related to terrorism since 2006 in Western countries. The present scenario, the perils of terrorism have gripped almost every country, led by a group or organization trying to force their ideologies on others. Whether it is a bomb blast in the city of Karachi, Pakistan or in the city of London, it has led to loss of innocent lives. It is not uncommon to hear about mass shootings in schools, clubs and other public places. Countries which are being ripped apart due to terrorism have plunged into poverty, forcing people to vacate their homes and lands in order to save themselves and their families, leading to increased cases of refugees. Now let's discuss ways to stop terrorism. 1. The act of terrorism should be condemned by all. 2. Some terrorist organizations are supported by the national government itself to counter international rivals. This spreads terrorism and should be abandoned immediately. 3. Military aids and weapon sales to parties associated with terrorism should be stopped. 4. Also, military bases in war-stricken countries should be dismantled. The future of terrorism is uncertain, but it is likely that terrorist organizations will continue to adapt and evolve in response to changing political, technological, and social conditions. It is important for governments and societies to remain vigilant and adaptable in the face of evolving threats, while also upholding the values of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. Unfortunately, terrorism is gaining a vice-like grip in modern society and acts of terror are as common as everyday news. Appropriate steps of intervention need to be taken promptly, to prevent the world from going into a state of chaos. Lastly, thank you for watching, and if you learned something new, do like the video and make sure to subscribe the channel so that you never miss any relevant updates. Also, check out our other videos and feel free to comment down any suggestions on how we can improve our content.